FM News Talk 97.1. On demand audio.
Exactly how you hear it is exactly how it all went down. It was later in the evening.
You're listening to Allman in the Morning. Common Sense Radio.
Good morning, you bunch of drunks.
Got an interesting email from a person who was associated with the
True, there was a woman.
St. Louis Tea Party Coalition. It's Michelle Moore, and she wanted to point out that this guy, Scott Boston, with the supposedly appointed the paper and everything else with the Tea Party, is actually not with the Tea Party. And this was a Tea Party Express rally. And so Michelle wants to make sure everybody knows this was not the St. Louis Tea Party Coalition. And that actually this guy, Scott Boston, is a part of this Gateway Grassroots Initiative group. So just for the point of clarification. Of course, Michelle's yelling at me like I'm, like I'm purposely doing, but I'm glad, I appreciate the information, Michelle. I'm not your enemy. Thank you very much. Senator Tom Coburn, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, glad to be with you.
Well, I'll tell you what. Thank you for all you have done in the good name of conservatism. You are truly one of our rock stars, and I certainly appreciate you. Coburn.senate.gov, but more importantly, the book, The Debt Bomb, a bold plan to stop Washington from bankrupting America. Senator Coburn, thank you very much for this. And what is the essence? I mean, obviously we know what the problem is. The solution, though, is a little more complicated, but in your mind, maybe even simpler than it looks.
Well, I think it's simpler. I think we identify the problem and then we offer solutions and we give hope. There's not a problem in front of our country we can't solve. We just lack the leadership and the will to address it. And the problem is the pain, if we don't address, affects everyone. Whether you're a liberal or a conservative, the pain's going to be severe if we don't step up to the plate and address the problems in front of our country. And it's so discouraging in Washington today because the biggest problem we have, our biggest national security issue, is our debt and deficits, and yet we're not addressing them. The reason you can't get a job today is our debt and deficits. And to not address it means what's going on? Where are the leaders? Where are the plans to solve the problems for our country? So we put in the book a broad range of options that we could do. What I've found is that most politicians won't speak to the Americans like adults and say, here's our problem, here's 10 sets of solutions, let's have a discussion nationally. There's no debate we have a difficulty in front of us, but there's no leadership to bring us together to a consensus to develop the will to solve the problem.
Senator Coburn, let me ask you this, and we're talking with Senator Tom Coburn, who is the author of The Debt Bomb. There's this conventional wisdom among some people on the left and even some moderates who say, okay, so conservatives want to cut taxes and they want to cut spending. And if we cut taxes and we cut spending, obviously, but if we cut taxes, how could we possibly then reduce our debt? Because we need the taxes to play down the debt. That's negotiable. That's we're able to navigate that, though, aren't we?
Sure. Pardon me.
You okay there, buddy?
Yeah,
all right.
Just an early morning frog.
That's all right, man.
Look, what we need to do is reform our tax code. If you go back in history, the last time our tax code was reformed was under Reagan. What happened? He lowered the rates, he broadened the base, he took away a lot of deductions. I can remember in 1986 paying more taxes. But what happened to our economy? Our economy grew on average 4.9% the next 4 years until Congress screwed it up again. So the point is we have $30 billion worth of credits and loopholes for the very wealthy, people making more than $1 million a year. You can take that out. You can still broaden the tax base. And what you will do, what our country lacks right now is confidence about the future and certainty about the future. And does that mean some very wealthy people might pay a little more in taxes? Yeah. Does that mean our country's going to start growing again at the rate that it can, like 3.5% or 4% a year? Yes. Does that mean we create jobs? Yes. But you can't do that in isolation without fixing Medicare and Social Security. a lot of people don't realize that in 9.5 years, if we don't act as a Congress and as a country, the only thing in the budget is going to be interest costs, Medicare, and Social Security. That's the only thing that will be there. No Defense Department, no Department of Justice, no Homeland Security, nothing. Yeah. And so the real thing is how the failure of Congress to act today, how's it going to impact you? If you're somebody going to college, right now 1 and 2 can't get a job. That's going to be 3 out of 4 can't get a job.
Right.
If you have a retirement plan and you think it's enough, with the Federal Reserve borrowing $3 trillion trying to stimulate the economy, and the real problem is we haven't done our job in Congress to get rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse, which is $350 billion a year. We haven't reformed the tax code. We haven't created the confidence for our future.
So can I ask you a quick question before we get away, because we're running out of time here, but we're talking about Senator Tom Coburn. Dick Lugar is defeated in Indiana. He's a colleague of yours, obviously. Tea Party guy beats him. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think my personal thoughts is the Tea Party is one of the best things that ever happened to the country. And let me explain why I say that. All of a sudden, people are awake and say, here's the Constitution and the rule book. We want people that are going to follow the rule book. And that means a limited government. That means you don't borrow money that you don't have to spend on things you don't absolutely need or are not constitutional, and that you have transparency and accountability in government. That's what they're saying. People complaining about the Tea Party and their constitutionalism like people complaining about referees at a football game. They have one without referees. We have a rule book, and we're in trouble because the government's twice the size it was 10 years ago in terms of dollars it spends.
Yeah. So did you think that Senator Lugar had what's coming?
Well, I think the people. It's not a matter of working across the aisle. I work across the aisle all the time, and I'm the most conservative senator up here by the rankings.
Right.
What it is what is the foundational tool that you're going to look to be your guide as you make decisions for the people you represent from Indiana or Oklahoma.
All right.
And that guide is the U.S. Constitution.
All right, Senator Tom Coburn, it's been a privilege. The book is called The Debt Bomb, and we appreciate your time, my friend.
You bet. Thanks for having me on.
All right.